If we talk about the fundamental nature of our reality and we liken it to summiting a mountain, that reaching the summit of the mountain is to really realize our fundamental nature, to realize the timeless awareness that is at the basis of everything, then we want to know someone who can support us in getting to the top of that mountain as easily as possible. So this is very important. And rather than just saying, well, for example, if we wanted to climb Mount Everest or K2, we wouldn't go to those mountains and try to do that on our own. No one would do that. Not even a totally insane person would do that, because there's no way to accomplish the goal. It's just absolutely impossible. So many of these suggestions are just an extreme view that no teacher is needed and they've been adopted for one reason or another. They're an entire oversimplification of the wisdom that is at the basis of everything. And when adopted, both the teachers and the students end up just circumambulating the base of the mountain their entire life. This is almost always the case. There's really no clear idea of what's at the summit, let alone the vantage that can be seen from the summit. So, then there are different kinds of guides that can actually get to the summit. Now, some guides, it's a long and arduous journey, and there's lots of preparation, and it takes so many years to prepare that you may never get there. And then, there are all kinds of modifications of that. But then there are the guides who can get you to the summit without you climbing the mountain. All of a sudden you're at the summit. So this is the approach of the direct teaching and the direct teacher, in which nothing need be done, where the instruction is so unerring and clear without even knowing how it came about. The all-encompassing pure view of awareness, the balanced view, that vantage, comes about effortlessly. The certainty of that dawns in one's being. So you see, it's just like with your friend. He studied engineering in order to learn engineering. He would have never said, oh, I don't need a teacher to learn computer engineering. I know I can do it on my own. No teacher is needed, you see. It's just, we can see, of course, why these extreme views have been adopted, because there's so much offered and so little that ever comes about from it. And this is just very clear. And so now we're in a time when many of these institutions are completely being deconstructed or falling apart. And why is that so? It's so simply due to the law of impermanence. No matter what appears, it's governed by impermanence. No matter how strong any kind of institution, tradition, sect, culture may be, the law of impermanence applies to everything, Babylon fell, Rome fell, it all disappears. So there's nothing whatsoever that appears that is permanent. No matter what appears, it's lacking in an independent nature. It's completely indescribable in its appearance, in that it has no independent nature, and at the same time it's vivid, distinct, and clear without being anything. And so that's one aspect of it. And the other is that without awareness it would not be. So inseparable from all appearances is awareness. Without awareness, no appearance would be. So these are the only basic understandings that are necessary in terms of contemplation. And then, in a very simple way, it's said that awareness is indescribable. In other words, it cannot be characterized by words. It cannot be arrived at through metaphoric approximation, and it can't be demonstrated. in any way. It can't be said, this is what awareness is. So it's indescribable in that sense. And then it is also completely wide open and spacious. So it isn't located anywhere. It doesn't have an address. It's not located here or anywhere else. It's a vast expanse that cannot be located anywhere, yet it is everywhere. And also, in addition to it being indescribable and completely wide open and spacious, it is naturally present. It's obviously naturally present. Without awareness, we would not know that we are. And so this is amazing. Everything that is experienced about the world is due to awareness. Awareness is the flawless experiencer. Awareness is the flawless knower. Awareness is the flawless doer of everything, no matter what it is. And so we can say not only that it's indescribable and completely wide open and spacious and naturally present, but it's also indivisible. In its flawlessness, it is the epitome expression of oneness. It's entirely indivisible. And rather than there being awareness with a lot of separate appearances within it, it's a single, indivisible or non-dual expanse. And so this is very simple. It's very straightforward. Also, another thing that can be said about awareness is that it is a wholly positive, beneficial expanse. And how can that be said? Well, it's wholly positive and an entirely beneficial expanse. It can be said that it's wholly positive in that whatever appears within it has never been anything else. And that sublime knowing that whatever appears within it has never been anything other than awareness is wisdom. So what that means in a practical sense is everything that appears is an appearance of wisdom. Everything that appears is a self-appearance of wisdom awareness. Every sound that is heard is a self-sound of wisdom awareness. So this is very simple and very, very straightforward. And in a practical way, how we see that in ourselves is that once we're introduced to awareness, then we can just enjoy that awareness while the certainty of it dawns. We can rest as awareness. We can hear teachings and certainty dawns within us, indwelling confidence that we really are awareness. And then in a practical way, what we see within ourselves is that all of these thoughts and emotions that seemed so problematic at one time, in that the good ones we could never hold on to and the bad ones we could never get rid of. So in that way, both are problematic, both the positive and the negative. We see that no matter what they are, they've never been an obstacle of any kind. They're completely pure, originally pure, wide open and timelessly free. Nothing has ever been made into anything within awareness. Awareness has never been stuck anywhere. So within our own being, we see that all of these things that we'd attributed causes and results to, that in just resting as awareness, more and more we can find neither cause or result. Awareness is known to be the sole cause and the sole result, the sole cause and the sole effect. And this cannot really be pondered or contemplated with words. And so the instruction down through the ages has been to rest imperturbably without seeking anything, to rest imperturbably as awareness without describing anything, to rest uninterruptedly as awareness without distraction by descriptions. All the descriptions, whatever they are, have their sole source and origin in, of, as, and through awareness. And when awareness is maintained in the simple way of resting as awareness, then it's seen more and more that all of these appearances actually are awareness, that awareness isn't separate from the appearance. So it isn't like a cat watching a mouse, awareness watching a point of view, the all-encompassing pure view of awareness watching a point of view within it. It isn't that at all. It's awareness, the flawless knower, as the point of view that's appearing. So this is the simple way to consider it, to contemplate it, so to speak. That within the all-encompassing pure view of awareness, appearances of every kind, which we'll just simply call points of view, appear as self-appearances, as self-viewpoints of that all-encompassing pure view, never having been separate from it ever, forever flawless, forever empty, forever stainless, like infinite sky. So you see, when we begin to see within the practical experience of our own being that all of these appearances that we considered to be problematic, that they've always been timelessly free, that they've never been wrapped up anywhere, then we can see that that awareness really is wholly positive. It's wholly positive, and that every one of its appearances, no matter what they are, is a wisdom appearance. It's a wholly positive appearance. Even if it's been described as good or evil or positive and negative, beyond all these empty descriptions that are lacking in an independent nature, there is wisdom. So it's a choice of continuing to describe, continuing to perpetuate stories, including stories about awareness, or getting to know wisdom awareness, that's the basis and the sole source of all these descriptions. So that's the very simple choice. And to even ask the question, well, who's choosing? That's going off on some kind of descriptive track of trying to make something out of something that can't be had anything made of it. Because the chooser and the non-chooser are not two. The doer and the non-doer are not two. So to go off into these extremist lines of inquiry never leads anywhere, as we can see. So if it led somewhere, then many would be somewhere by now.